my friends. Good morning. This is Dr. Symona Monet, and today's workshop is on breaking free from Western beauty standards. Yes, Western beauty standards. The image of the white woman, the standard of beauty in the world, the white woman has always been the standard of beauty. And the way that we depict ourselves or how we look at ourselves does not line up with that as African people or people of color. We cannot fit into that standard of beauty and will never be able to fit into that standard of beauty because we are not white women. And so I think for so long, from young ages, we are conditioned to try our best to fit that standard. We are straightening our hair or putting on wigs. Sometimes I say, are we wearing costumes? And I'll say for me, I've done that before, and sometimes I'll still wear fake hair or something like that. That is not my hair texture. This is my hair texture. And so, why are we wanting that the basic Western beauty standard, or what has become the standard of beauty? Are we not beautiful as African people? Well, that is not what is depicted in the media. So I would like to tell you a little story because, in telling stories, you know, they help you to understand it. It helps us to um, get idea of, for people who do not understand. You may not be African woman, and you may not understand how this Western beauty standard has affected African women. And not even just African women, but also African men, and also their choice of women and what they feel is beautiful. And so I'll tell you a little story about me. And I remember vividly as a child, and I grew up around my family on my father's side. And I had a lot of cousins that we were the same age, and we would stay the night with each other. And when we stayed the night and we played and things like that, the first thing that we wanted to do was find a towel. And when I'm saying a towel, a bathing towel. And we would put that towel over our head, and we would just prance around, as with the towels, if the towel was our long straight flowing hair. That was the idea, that we had this long straight flowing hair, like the standard of beauty. We were meeting the standard of beauty in our imagination of what we aspired to look like, because our kinky or curly hair, our brown skin, our full lips, and the features, our African features, was just not beautiful enough. But we would imagine that we had this long flowing hair. This towel was giving us this long flowing hair, and it made us feel so good. I can remember even my imaginations. And in my imaginations, I was not thinking of myself. I was thinking of a white woman or a white little girl that had long, straight flowing hair. And the thing is, my parents always tried to instill in me, you know, of loving myself when it came to how I looked as an African person, loving who I was, who I am. So then you would say, well, where would that come from? Where would it come from that I still wanted this long flowing hair? I'm wearing this towel over my head. Where would that come from? Because my parents, and getting more into some of the things that they did in order for us to have confidence as African people, is they always bought, any picture that depicted a person was Black or African. It was always Black or African. We never had any white pictures in our house or anything like that. Never. I was even a Christian, and even Jesus was black. The Jesus in our house was black. And so, I'll go into also with our dolls, all of the dolls that I had growing up, every single doll was black. They didn't allow me to buy, white dolls because they felt it was important that we saw depictions of ourselves in our household. But then why? Why was it that I still desired the beauty standard of white women? The beauty standard, the Western beauty standard. Why was it when I'm at home, I'm seeing all of these depictions of African and Black people? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. And it has to do with media, it has to do with what is advertised. And what is advertised, every commercial, if you're watching TV, you're watching television, or even now, people are on their internet primarily. You're watching whatever you're watching. Most of the commercials that depict beauty are white women. Or you would say very, very light women that look white. They have that look, and they fall into or close to the beauty standard. For instance, Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian is not fully what you would say a white woman, but they consider her a white woman because she's close enough. She kind of falls into that standard of beauty that is acceptable not only here in America but around the world. So she's close enough. So when we're watching TV, our children, we have to understand how powerful media is. When we're watching, like when I was a child and I'm watching cartoons, and in the middle of those cartoons, I'm seeing white children with white mothers, and whatever is depicted, when you see a beautiful woman, or what they say is beautiful, the standard of beauty in those commercials and things, you always see white women. When you see the models, and I for a long time aspired to be a model, but what real role model I had as far as being a model, and what did I consider as beautiful? When I looked at a model, I looked at primarily white models that fit that standard of beauty, white, tall, slender models. And that was what we were told as beautiful. I remember as a teenager, we're going to go through, some of my phases. And I remember as a teenager, I was pursuing Miss Teen USA. I was pursuing that. And, I really wanted to be in the pageant. But in looking at all of the past people that were involved in Miss Teen USA, they were all white. They were all white women. And if you do not fit that depiction of beauty, or if you are not going towards that, then you're not beautiful. You don't fit the beauty standard. So, it makes you want to pursue looking more white, or you can say European. And so that comes into getting perms. I used to get perms as a teenager, getting perms to straighten your hair, wearing hairstyles that are similar to white women, their natural hair. So their natural hair, they may have wavy hair and it flows a certain way, and it or curly and it curls a certain way. And that is what we want as African women. We want that wavy curly hair. That is what we say is beautiful. And when we find, say, because some, African women, they may have that hair, and that is what we consider as beautiful. We do not consider this hair beautiful. I remember I was watching, I believe it's Chris Rock. He has, he has a movie, and I believe that movie is called Good Hair or something. Don't quote me on that. But basically, the premise of the movie is to show how we do not desire our own hair. And I remember a part of that movie where he went into a beauty supply shop, and he brought some black hair, African hair, and he said, "Will you buy this? Can you sell this hair?" And most of the people going into these beauty supplies, the one that he was primarily black or African people. And so he said, "Will you buy that hair?" And they're like, "No, no." And I think he went into several, I can't remember exactly how that went, but I think he went into several of those beauty supplies, and they weren't willing to buy the hair because they said that hair does not sell. But why is it that hair would not sell? Why, when you're saying enhancing your beauty, when we're saying, okay, I'm going to get additional hair. Just say that whole, we're talking about weaves or additional hair. Why is it that we have to get the straight, the curly, the ones looking very European, to try to attempt to have our hair to look more European? Why is it that we can't get hair that's just like ours? Why is it that we can't just enhance, like say, we cut our hair, or our hair is shorter, and we say, well, okay, I want to enhance the beauty, I want to enhance my features, my African features. I want to enhance, the look of my hair. I want to change the look of my hair. So I may want to add some more hair, but that hair looks like my hair. Why is it that we don't desire to put our own hair on our head, opposed to what they call Indian hair? India, they're making a lot of money. I mean, they're making a lot of money selling to African people, where they're getting these hairs out of the temples, because for, their tradition, a lot of times they'll cut their hair, and then that hair is processed, and sold to African people, because we desire more straight hair, because their hair, even though their hair is not European, and I don't know of any Europeans that actually sell their hair like the Indians sell their hair, it can be processed in a way that can look very European, and so that is what we really desire. Indian Remy. Then they have Brazilian, they have all of these names for this hair that is not our hair, or not, does not correlate with many of our hair textures as African people. So this is like $1 billion industry they have here in India. And not only do we buy the hair, we feel that we need the hair. I remember I was, at work, and, when I worked for the state for many, many years. I'm not working there now, but I was speaking to one of my colleagues. And what my colleague said is, she does not put weave in her hair because when she takes it out, it's traumatic for her. She said when she wears the weave, and what I'm talking about is not, that's not similar to her hair texture. When she wears the long flowing weave and hair, or hair extensions, however you want to look at it, she said she feels more confident. It makes her feel more confident. She verbalized this. This is something, it was amazing, because she actually said what a lot of Black women, or you can say African women, think. This is what makes me feel confident. I feel beautiful when I'm wearing these hairstyles that look like European women. I feel beautiful when I'm looking like Kim Kardashian. I want to pursue this look more like Europeans. And so she said she will not go down that road, or go down that rabbit hole of putting the weave on her hair, because she knows that it is very hard for her to take it off. And when she takes it off, she said sometimes she even cries. She even cries. Can you believe that? Because it's almost like when she's taking that off, if I look at it, this is not what she said, but this is how I look at it. It's almost like when you're taking that out, when you're going back to your natural look as a African woman, it's almost like you're taking off your beauty and what is the standard of beauty. And that is hurtful for many, many Africans. And so we have to embrace who we are. We have to love how we look, no matter what the standard of beauty is. We have to find things that are beautiful about ourselves. And in starting that, ways that we can find what's beautiful about ourselves is just looking in the mirror every day and identifying all of our physical traits that we consider beautiful. And if you don't yet feel that it is beautiful, I would like you to affirm that you are beautiful. Look at your eyes and say, you have beautiful eyes. Look at your hair and say, I have beautiful, beautiful, curly, kinky hair. I love it. And find ways. I know I'll look at myself and I'll say, I have the best hair. That's an affirmation that I have. And I even, while I'm doing my daughter's hair, I will even tell them, you have such beautiful hair. Such beautiful hair, to instill that they are beautiful just the way they are. Their natural state is beautiful. So I'll even think and imagine of ways that my hair is beautiful. Why is my hair beautiful? My hair is beautiful because I can wear it in so many different styles. My hair is beautiful because I can braid it with no problem. A lot of people that have very fine hair, it's hard for them to braid their hair. And if they braid their hair, it's very painful because you're having to pull on the root. My hair is beautiful because I can, it'll, you know, some of the styles that I have stays in place. It'll stay in place for periods of time. I can adorn my hair and make it look even more beautiful. And looking at my skin, affirming that I have beautiful brown or mocha skin, that my skin is a reflection of the beauty of the earth, of all of the beauty that's in nature. My skin is, a lot of people aspire to have my skin. The people that they say is part of the beauty standard, which is, European or white women, aspire to have the skin color that I have because they will sit out in the sun for hours to get darker. And I hear white women even saying, I'm so pale. I need to get out in the sun. I need to go get a tan. But for me, I don't have to get a tan. But I'll let you know, I do love getting tans. I do because I love my brown skin and I love being out in the sun. So usually in the summertime, I do get tan and that tan allows me to cover up some of my blemishes and things like that. So I'll utilize, getting a tan in that way. But they aspire to have a lot of them aspire to have the beautiful color that I have. So I must be thankful for my complexion. I must be thankful for my full lips because those women that are part of the standard of beauty, I see them sometimes injecting their lips with collagen. I see them, injecting their lips so that they're fuller, they're more African looking. I see them doing that, but I'm thankful that I already have full lips. I have African features that are beautiful. They see the beauty in my features, but we're aspiring to be like them when they are actually seeing the beauty and who we are. I was reading, so I'm looking here at the comment of Dr. Uwa, and she says the standard of beauty also depends on not just the way we feel about ourselves, but it is important that our Black men let their women know they are beautiful, starting with their little girls. Absolutely. Absolutely. We must, and I wanted to get into that when it's pertaining to the man. Our man must feel okay with being attracted to women that a lot of times look like their mothers. I never could figure out how a Black man, I've met some Black men that has said, I'm not attracted to Black women. And I never understood that because your mother is a Black woman. But now I do understand that. I do understand that now, because if your mother do not like herself and how she looks, and she's pursuing and have always pursued what is considered the standard of beauty of looking like or looking similar to or close to a white woman, then yes, he would want to pursue the standard of beauty because that is her standard of beauty. So they're learning that how my mother looks is not okay. How my mother's looks is not necessarily beautiful, because she's always trying to change how she looks. She's never showing up as her beautiful African self. She's always putting on wigs or weaves, doing her hairstyles like European women. And even with the lining of the skin, many places in the diaspora, even here in America, Black women are lightening their skin. And so if they're seeing that, they're saying, well, what she's teaching them is to get a beautiful woman, you must get a woman that meets that standard of beauty of what society says is a standard of beauty, which is the white woman. And that will, that subconsciously creates in that person, or these, some of these men that say, I'm not attracted to Black women. I don't think Black women are beautiful, even though they have a Black mother. I remember also watching music videos, and in these music videos, you have these male rappers or entertainers. And all you see, as far as the models that are there in the videos and things like that, a lot of times there's many of videos that all you see is, light, very, very light, fair women with the hair that is very European. Or you'll see, other races of women, every other woman besides, someone that looks similar to them. You'll see every other look, and all of those looks fit that standard of beauty. You don't see a Black woman with the natural beautiful hair, curly kinky hair. You usually don't see that. You see a woman, and if you do see a Black woman, she's, like I said, in a costume. We have to start, saying it how it is a costume, because that is not, our hair is not straight. A lot of our hair, as African people in the diaspora, we don't have, straight wavy hair. And so with that, we must understand that that is not our natural look. And so we're presenting ourselves in society with, with a look that is not ours. So that's a costume. It's like during Halloween, we wear costumes to dress up like other people, other characters. And that's what we're doing when we're, presenting ourselves in ways that are not African. when we're lightening our skin, this is not our skin complexion. I forgot the name of that baseball player, but it's a baseball player. I saw the before and the after pictures. He might have been my complexion originally. And then he lightened his skin to become very, very fair. I mean, he's very fair now. And, it just tells us because of the trauma that we've been through, because of how we're depicted, we are unable to really appreciate the beauty in who we are. So I wanted to read this other comment here. Even when an African woman is beautiful, she still adds the European feel to be more acceptable. That is absolutely true. Now, I've even heard the excuse, and to me, it's an excuse because I feel that other people accept us more than we accept ourselves sometimes. So the excuse that I'm talking about is I've heard people, African women say, "Oh, I straighten my hair because I won't be able to be accepted at my job. I straighten my hair because I won't be accepted, I can't get a job, or I can't get a job with this kinky hair, this nappy hair. I can't get a job." And in my experience, a lot of times that's far from the truth. I've seen Black women that are natural, that are very successful. They have gone very high in their careers with their natural hair, because one thing that other cultures of people know is that you're not the same as them. And a lot of times it is appreciated. Sometimes you may have those issues, but the majority of the time it's not our hair holding us back. If they accept you as hiring a black or an African woman, they're accepting you as that. Putting on European hair, putting on that costume will not necessarily get you that job. That is, or advance your career. They may not do that. And so, we'll find all of these excuses. We'll find all types of excuses to meet that beauty standard and make it acceptable for ourselves not to look like ourselves. We'll do that all the time. I know for me, even with me, a lot of times, and even coming on, social media, doing videos like that, I think subconsciously, because of the beauty standard, I'm running to get a ponytail. But when I'm running to get a ponytail, I'm not running to get a kinky ponytail. I'm running to get a ponytail that the hair is flowing, and I like it to kind of flow down my shoulders. So that's something I definitely have to work on also. But wearing my hair natural and seeing the beauty in that is beautiful also. But I will, I'll think in my mind, like it'll flash in my mind, okay, let me run out and get this fake ponytail or some wig, and this is looking European, because when you go to those beauty supplies, that stuff is, looks like European hair. It looks like, hair that is not mine. But I will think like, okay, let me fix myself up. Fix myself up. How am I fixing myself up? I'm not enhancing my beauty. I'm trying to look, like someone else, or, something that is not me, And so I also have to work on that myself. It's just so conditioned in our society. And I want to read this comment also. How sad that some feel they must diminish who they are to get jobs, climb the corporate ladder, or be invited to certain events. I am so proud of those who say, "This is who I am," and be firm in this. Yes, yes. I think the most powerful thing, if we want to advance in our life, is being ourselves. The more authentic we can be, the the further we can go. And being authentic is being ourselves, showing up as ourselves, not a representation of us, not putting on costumes to feel that we're fitting in to a beauty standard that is not ours. So just human nature, authenticity, transparency is so important. So no matter how we're looking, no matter how we're looking, people appreciate authenticity and transparency. So we will be taking a short advertising break, and we'll be back.
Hello, Queen Mother. As you can see, we are here in Wapchamari camp, the first camp. Today is the first day of our cooking program. Today is the first day of our cooking program for the IDPs. So we are here for the distribution. Thank you, ma. Zainab is here to carry out all the other activities. Thank you, ma. One.
my friends. That was an excellent commercial. And I would encourage you to go to African Women Commission.net. Again, African Women Commission.net, and donate to the cause that was just presented before you. It's so important that we give back, and you can change the lives of many individuals just with your donation. So please support us in helping these women and children and these families. So again, go to African Women Commission.net and donate. Give your donation, even if it's a small amount. Every dollar counts and will be used to help these individuals there in Nigeria. Well, getting back into our discussion, we're talking about break free from Western beauty standards. And how do we break free from Western beauty standards? We talked about all of the different ways that we're affected by Western beauty standards as African women, as African people, not just women, but the men, how they're affected, seeing their mothers trying to meet that standard, desperately trying to meet that standard. And us, every time we'll fail. We'll fail every time. There's no way as African women can meet that standard unless, we do have in our community, some women are very fair, and they look European. They have the straight hair or the curly hair. They are lighter skinned. They may be biracial, and they have taken on the European side. For example, my great grandmother, my grandmother's mother on my mother's side, she looked like a white woman. And she looked like a white woman to the extent that, she went to live in California with her son. And she was having so many issues, and this is maybe in the 50s, so there was still a lot of racism. And she was constantly getting stopped by the police. They were getting stopped by the police when she's with her son because, they were thinking, well, they've taken this white woman hostage. She had very bone straight hair. She was very European looking. She was very fair. And you could not tell that she had any African in her, that she was part of, the African culture. So they were assuming that, her sons were some black men that was taking her hostage. She felt very uncomfortable. So she moved back to Mississippi. And in Mississippi, because it was a small town, they knew that she was African. They knew that she was biracial. They knew who her father was, which he was not in her life. But they knew her family, and they knew that she was African, that she was Black. And she never had those issues there because they knew she dealt with other issues there in the South. It was very prejudiced there. There was a lot of atrocities that went on with Black people there in the South, but she did not have to deal with people thinking that she's a white woman and, being around her children and things like that. People understood that those were her children and that, she was safe and things like that. But in going into it further, we have to look at some history here. And we have to look at some of the things that maybe have been passed down to us that may have caused us to feel that we have to pursue, the Western beauty standards. We have to look more European and like white women. And one of the things that I came across was some history from the Jim Crow Museum, and I read some of the history, and the history was talking about the historical depiction of Black women versus, white women. And, when we look historically at how white women are depicted, how white women are portrayed or looked at, they're looked at as having self-respect. They're looked at as having self-confidence and, well, or self-control, not self-confidence, but self-control and sexual purity. On the other hand, Black women was and are still portrayed as innately promiscuous. Black women are also signified or have been signified by the name Jezebel, which Jezebel was a character in the Bible. If you've ever read the Bible, Jezebel was not a good, positive character. Jezebel was depicted as sexually seductive. And so there was a lot of stereotypes behind when it came to Black women and how we have been portrayed in society. And that has something to do with our self-esteem and how we look at ourselves. And if we don't want to meet that stereotype, it does lead us into wanting to meet that beauty standard of being closer to what is depicted of a white woman, which is, if you're a white woman and you look white and you line up, or you're closer to looking white and you line up with that, you're able to gain, or you feel that you're able to gain self-respect, self-control, and people will look at you as sexually pure. That is much better than society depicting you as a harlot, as society depicting you as innately sexually promiscuous. That you were born, and when they say innate, they're saying you were born promiscuous. You were born that way, and there's no changing or turning back. And so when you have those depictions, of course, you're going to line up with the better portrayal of that society accepts. So you're going to put that costume on. You're going to try to look more like a European because you want to identify what is identified with that of which meets the beauty standard. That of which is what is accepted, which is white women. You want to meet that. And so you try everything that you can, even putting in color contacts. I know, and I've seen Black women and those of the diaspora and African women putting on color contacts, in order to try to meet that beauty standard. I remember growing up, I had someone that I knew that was one of my elders, and she would literally put on the fake hair. It was, of course, it was European. It looked European. She would put the green contacts in, or the blue contacts, or the light color contacts, in order to lighten her eyes to look more closer to what we call the beauty standard. And when she took all of that off, I saw her with none of that on. And when she took all of that off, she didn't even look like the same person. You could barely recognize her. Is that what we're trying to do as African people, as African women? Are we trying to be unrecognizable when we're showing up as our African selves, our natural selves? Is that what we're trying to do? But in getting more into that, that was a sidebar. But in getting more into that, I wanted to get into some more of the history. So another part of the history, the museum was speaking about from the 1930s until the present time. Black American women of all shades have been portrayed as hypersexual, the quote unquote bad girl. That is has been our that has been how we have been presented, and that is how we've been presented now. And so when we're talking about that in the past, when we're talking in the past, that was due to the stereotypes, that was due to how we were predicted because we were a lot of times enslaved, and then we had segregation and things like that. And that started it started then. We were also sold into prostitution. We were also put into the auction block. We were there were certain women that were, and a lot of them were what they call mulattoes. So they were mixed race women that were, sold every year to wealthy white men to be their mistresses. And so I just couldn't imagine, living that life. But from what was said and what, from what I was reading from the museum, they felt nothing was wrong with that because that was part of our innate nature. And even before, slavery or nothing having to do with slavery, what I was also reading from the museum is that Europeans have always depicted us as hypersexual due to the dancing and some of our traditional practices. And they interpret that as being sexual, and they interpret that as being hypersexual. But going into this more, we look at our videos, our music videos. We look at how we are overly sexualized. It was this video. I just could not believe it. If I went on YouTube, and I mean, you can, I don't know if I can even say the word for what this video was. The title was very inappropriate, but it was just all of these women having sex. I mean, they were having, openly having sex on this video. I mean, it's taking it to another level. And the majority of them were Black. I would say 95% of them were Black. And this was such a topic for a little bit on YouTube. Our community was talking about it and things like that. And, saying, well, this is not something that, how we should be portrayed as African people. But the media is portraying us as that. They're allowing artists that feeds into the stereotype to become famous. And then it's depicting us, it's keeping that belief, it's keeping that stereotype going that we are hypersexual. And then we also have, when you're looking at certain commercials, I was looking at commercials of the when they were talking about, the pandemic and things like that, and trying to get people to get vaccinated. When they're, the type of commercials that they have for the Black community, a lot of times is very inappropriate. I saw, and even with the voting, if we talk about even other commercials that I saw, or promotional items in the media. Recently, I saw another one that was just very sexual. Why are we talking about sex when you're encouraging people to go vote? That just does not make sense. But it feeds into the stereotype, and a lot of times the people that are putting this media out there are not African. They're making these decisions of what should be out there for African people based on the stereotype that has been going on since the 1600s. And so that is what they think, we're motivated by. The world is thinking that we're motivated by sex. They're thinking that we're motivated. That is all that we're motivated by. I'm not saying everyone, but if the media reflects that. And one thing that we haven't done is we haven't fought to stop it. We haven't, put our foot down to say, I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to promote this. And further, I am coming after these companies that are depicting me as an African woman in this way. And we have to do more of that. Let's put pen to paper and start to write our politicians. Let's put pen to paper and start to write these companies that are depicting us in this way. And let's stop listening to this type of music or watching these videos that are depicting us as hypersexual, because it just adds to the problem. Then we start to believe that. Then we, start to, some of us, I can't say all of us, but then, some of us start to become what is depicted in the media. And it's very destructive to our community. Being promiscuous, there are so many dangers in being promiscuous. We must not, allow this anymore. But we have to come together as a collective. Just me or, just a few people fighting this is not going to change it. Communities that don't want to be depicted in a certain way, they do fight for that. And if someone is depicting them in a wrong way, they will come after that individual or those people. And there is consequences. We need to have consequences, because our generation, this has gone on from generation to generation. Our daughters and our sons are seeing us depicted in these ways. And for a lot of women that don't want to be depicted in that way, I'll say the majority of African women don't want to be depicted as hypersexual. A lot of women feel that they have to meet that Western beauty standard, and that's part of it. If I meet the Western beauty standard and I don't look as much African, they won't depict me as hypersexual. They won't depict me in a way that is shameful for me. And so we have to, in order for us to change that narrative, for one, we have to change what we're allowing in media as a people, as African people, and not just African people. If you're not in a part of the African culture, that's not your culture. You're not a part of the diaspora, but you see this going on and you see it's wrong, and you know that this is not true. Speak up. Speak up. I don't care what race or culture or ethnicity that you are. Speak up and speak against it, because it's not appropriate. It's not right, and you know it's not right. So speak up. And so I wanted to next get into a little bit more details about what was spoken about when I was reading information from the Jim Crow Museum. And, I think I hinted on that. It was, like I said, it was many slaves, sold into prostitution. Another thing I wanted to touch on is that the disrespect for African women because of colonialism, because of slavery, the disrespect that has been taking place and still taking place, having to do with Black women, and not really, not really having compassion or care for Black women. And part of that was often, during slavery, raping a Black woman was not rape. So if that Black woman or that African woman was sold, if she was forced, like we were saying, into prostitution, if that master, wanted, his friend to be able to sleep with, the one of his slaves, she had no choice. But that's rape. In our, we know that that's rape. But she had no choice. She had no say so. And it was, I think people, because a lot of times we know what is right and wrong. Innately, we know what is right and wrong. But, I think the stereotypes helps people to do some things, do atrocities that they know are not right, because they have an excuse. And the excuse is, okay, this is just their nature. They love, they're hypersexual, so that is what people are looking at. But I'm looking at the time, and it looks like we have to start wrapping up. I hope you enjoyed this workshop today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I see the picture here. We are all shades. And I see what came up. Black women are all shades. Let us celebrate all that we are and teach our little girls to love the skin they are in. And absolutely, I believe that. And in addition to that, us not feeding into the stereotypes of who we are, but embracing the beauty of who we are, fighting against those who depict us in ways that are not, that are not good. And so I thank you so much again for watching, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. I'll see